Hi, welcome to day 6 of Native American Appreciation Month. My name is Enoch Chapman, and I'm here to talk to you about all things Native American during this month because Native Americans are awesome, being Native American is awesome, and if you know anything about Native Americans, you just know that's the coolest thing in the world. So today is November 6th, 2014, and yesterday I was talking to a friend about what I should talk about yesterday. He said, maybe I should talk about sports. And she said, no, you should talk about sports on Thursday because Thursday is when they play football, and sports and football tie in very nicely together. So I'm going to talk to you today about sports because it's Thursday. And it makes sense because my friend told me to do it. And you can't really talk about sports and Native Americans without talking about Jim Thorpe. Jim Thorpe is hands down not only one of the greatest Native American athletes ever, but probably just one of the greatest athletes ever that this world has seen. Just amazing athletic prowess. Jim Thorpe is a half blood. His father is Irish and Sac and Fox, and his mother was Caucasian. I don't remember exactly what she was, but then she was also Potawatomi. And so you put the Sac and Fox, Potawatomi together, you take a quarter of that, that's a half, and then you take the two half Caucasians put together. So Jim Thorpe was a half-breed of Caucasian Native American mix. However, he grew up on reservations. Because of his dark skin, he was ridiculed a lot by people calling him red skin and all the other stuff that happens with Native Americans that we don't want to go into. But he was a Native American. We claim him because he's amazing. He's amazing. Can't take Caucasians. However, let's talk about his sports career, okay? So, Jim Thorpe started his sports career at college, and he went to college at a college called Carlisle. Carlisle in 1907. Now, the story goes that he was walking past a track and field practice area where they were doing the high jump. And he looked at that and said, I can do that. So in his sports clothes, he beat all the people who were actually on the team with a jump of 5 feet 9 inches in his street clothes, just his regular street clothes. He says, I can do that. Man went on to do track and field. He went on to do basketball, baseball, football, which was his first love. He just fell in love with football. But he also did lacrosse and ballroom dancing, of all things. In 1912, he won the intercollegiate ballroom dancing competition. So the man wasn't just amazing prowess on the sports field, but also in the ballroom arena. He was able to win competitions there too. There was a very big game in 1912 against Carlisle and Army, in which he was partially responsible for the victory of 27-6. During one of the plays, or during one of the kickoffs, he had a kickoff return of 92 yards back to get a touchdown. However, one of his teammates caused a penalty, and the touchdown was reversed. So on the very next play, Jim Thorpe said, well, if you're going to take away my 92-yard run, what I'm going to do is run it down for a 97-yard run and get a touchdown. So he, not satisfied with the fact that he had to pull it back, I'm just going to run it in anyways. So from 92 to 97-yard, add 5 yards. This is amazing prowess. Dwight D. Eisenhower played against him, and he said in one of his speeches, here and there are some people who are supremely talented. My memory goes back to Jim Thorpe. He never practiced in his life, and he could do anything better than any other football player I ever saw. So that's kind of some mad props from President Eisenhower about Jim Thorpe. Jim was awarded All-American in both 1911 and 1912. And like I said, football will remain his favorite sports of all time while he would do his entire career. In 1912, there was the Summer Olympics. And at that time, they were in Stockholm, Sweden. And Jim just was a competitor. He actually competed. He competed in 4 events. He competed in long jump and high jump. And then 2 new events that were just completely new that year, pentathlon and decathlon. The pentathlon was made up of 5 events: the long jump, the javelin throw, the discus throw, the 200-meter dash, and the 1500-meter dash. And then the decathlon included pole vault, shot put, and a bunch of other hurdles and some other stuff out there too. And just amazing running, jumping, throwing stuff. Because that's just the world that he was in. So he started doing the long jump. He took 4th place in the long jump. And then he did the high jump. He took 7th place in the high jump. Then something really weird happened. Someone stole his shoes. Man couldn't find his shoes. They were just gone. So he needed to compete inside the pentathlon and decathlon. And so in order to get shoes, he just rummaged through the garbage. found 2 pairs of shoes. And a lot of pictures from the Olympics that you see Jim Thorpe, you see him in 2 different shoes, and you see one of his feet just piled on with socks because the shoe was so large that he needed to have multiple pairs of socks on one foot in order for it to actually fit inside the shoe. Now, did that stop him? Did that impede his prowess? No problem. Maybe it enhanced it. Who knows? Because he took the gold in both the pentathlon and the decathlon that year. And what was a very commonplace back then was the medal ceremonies were done at the very end of the Olympics instead of after each event. So King Gustav, the story goes, as he was awarding Jim Thorpe his 2 medals for the gold for the pentathlon and gold for the decathlon, said, "You, sir, are the greatest athlete in the world." Now, that's how the story goes. We don't really know if that's true or not because records are kind of sketchy from back then and no one was really recording anything. But to hear that from King Gustav, "You, sir, are the greatest athlete in the world," I think is just, that's an amazing, amazing praise from a person who just did some amazing, amazing stuff. Now, back in 1912, it was strictly prohibited that anyone outside of amateurs compete in the Olympics. And it was found out in, I think it was 1910 or 1909, that Jim Thorpe played a year of minor league baseball. And what ended up happening was the Olympic Committee stripped Jim Thorpe of his medals because they said that year of baseball they played, I think it was like 2 games, and he was deemed as a professional, so he wasn't eligible to compete inside the Olympics. So they took his medals away from him. The team that he played for was actually no more. It dissolved in 1910, but still the rule happened. Turns out, in 1983, the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, said, "You know what? We were wrong. We should give these medals back." So 30 years after Jim Thorpe died, the IOC said, no, let's give his medals back to him. So now he can truly enjoy them since he's 30 years gone by. Which, it's great that he got her back too, but it's kind of sad that it took so long to recognize the prowess and amazing ability of this individual. So don't take as long to go and recognize the people that you need to recognize. Don't wait until after they're gone to recognize them. Recognize them right now. That's the lesson of Jim Thorpe and the Olympic medals. After the Olympics, he started his professional career. And in 1912, he signed on with the New York Giants for baseball. Signed on for New York Giants and helped them win their 1913 National League championship. They didn't win the World Series, but they won the National League championship. And he would stay there with them for a while. He ended up playing baseball professionally from 1913 to around 1919, 1920. In the year of 1920, he was nominally the president of the American Professional Football Association, the APFA, which is the precursor to the National Football League, which actually came about in 1922. So for 1 year, Jim was the nominal president, which meant that he was a president, but he actually didn't have to run anything. He just was the president in name. And he played football from 1920 to about 1928 when he decided to retire when he was 41. He played for a number of different teams, and even though he didn't play for any championship teams, the teams he played for, when he played the football with them, he ended up bringing them out of slumps. For instance, there was one team he played for called the Canton Bulldogs. Now, you know how old this is because the Bulldogs don't exist anymore. But when he played for Canton Bulldogs, their average attendance was 1,500 people per game. And Jim Thorpe's very first game for the Canton Bulldogs, he ended up having the attendance be over 8,000 people. So that's amazing. People came out because they knew his name, they knew what an amazing athlete he was, and they wanted to see him play. And he brought it every single time. He was just always there, always on his game, and trying to be the best that he possibly could. He ended up retiring in 1928 when he was 41 from football, and that's the last that he ever played professional sports. What's really interesting is during this time frame, a lot of biographers overlooked the fact that he actually played professional basketball. So he ended up playing basketball from a team in Ohio, made up primarily of Native Americans, and it's a barnstorming league. I don't know if you understand what barnstorming means in terms of sports, but these are teams that would go out and play exhibition games all over the place, still being professional athletes. They'd play exhibition games, but they weren't kind of tied down to the logistics or the rulings of the actual professional organizations. And so he ended up playing professional basketball for about 2-3 years. I believe it was 22 to 24 when he was playing professional basketball. And I mean, that's amazing, right? The guy played baseball, basketball, and football. We know Bo Jackson did that type of stuff, but man, here's a guy who did it in 1912. So Bo doesn't know anything compared to Jim Thorpe, because Jim Thorpe was just incredible. Now, I wish this story had a huge happy ending. Unfortunately, it doesn't. When Jim Thorpe retired in 1928, it was right at the very beginning of the Great Depression. And after he retired, he struggled. He struggled and struggled and struggled to try to find any type of work that he'd be able to support his family. He ended up giving a lot of money to different Native American causes, and a lot of people who asked for his help from Native American world. And so a lot of the money that he had built up was given away at that point. He, like many people who fall into depression and fall into hard times, fell into the life of alcoholism, and he died being alcoholic and in poverty. So, unfortunately, I wish the story had a wonderful happy ending, but it doesn't, because of just the nature of what usually ends up happening when people fall out of the limelight. It's tragic. However, if we look at the prowess of who he was, the athleticism of who he was, the life of what he gave to us as an athlete, as a character builder, as just the amazing individual of who he was. He was a person who was seen over and over again as someone to be counted on, someone who depended on, and who could change the face of the game, no matter what type of game it was. In the turn of the millennium, or turn of the century, and millennium, ABC Sports did a poll of who's the greatest athlete, and Jim Thorpe was voted as the greatest athlete of the 20th century. Out of 15 other candidates, he beat out Muhammad Ali and Jesse Owens, Wayne Gretzky, Jack Nicklaus, Michael Jordan. He just beat out all of them because he truly was seen as the greatest athlete. And I have to say, I share, what was supposed said by King Gustav of Sweden. You, sir, are the greatest athlete in the world. I think he's the greatest athlete ever to have existed. He's just amazing athletic ability, but also just an amazing individual, an amazing Native American. Someone that we should all be able to pattern ourselves after, to give it our best, give it our all. And no matter what you do, go out there with gusto, live it up the way you can live it up, and showcase the power of who you are by always being the dynamic individual that you can be. That's the lesson of Jim Thorpe. Amazing athlete, amazing Native American, and someone I'm proud to celebrate today on November 6th, 2014. Go out, hug yourself a Native American, and I will see you tomorrow.